I'm going to tell you something that might completely change how you see attraction. It's not your looks, it's not your money, it's not even your words. In fact, the thing women are most naturally drawn to is something 99% of men completely ignore. And the crazy part? It's something you can develop instantly. But before I reveal it, you need to understand why most men fail in the first place, because they try too hard. Before we dive deeper, a quick message. If you've been learning from my videos and you want to support this work, you can subscribe to me on Facebook with a paid membership, send stars, or join my YouTube channel's paid community. Your support helps me create more powerful content for you, and I truly appreciate every bit of it. All right, now let's continue. They overthink every message. They rehearse every line. They chase attention instead of creating it. And in doing that, they lose the one thing that actually creates attraction: natural presence. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because natural attraction isn't about doing more. It's about removing what doesn't belong. And what doesn't belong is neediness. Let me explain this in a way most people won't. When you need her attention, she feels it, not through your words, but through your energy. It shows in how quickly you reply, how much you explain, how often you try to impress. And the moment she senses that, something shifts, because attraction can't grow where there's pressure. Now, here's the secret. The thing 99% of men ignore: women are deeply attracted to emotional self-control. Not coldness, not distance, but calm, grounded control over your emotions. And when you have that, everything about you feels different. Think about it. When a man isn't easily shaken, doesn't react impulsively, doesn't chase validation, he becomes intriguing, because now she can't predict him. And what's unpredictable becomes interesting. But here's where most men misunderstand this. They think being emotionally controlled means being quiet, boring, or detached. That's not it at all. It means you feel things, but you're not ruled by them. You don't rush. You don't overreact. You don't try to prove your worth. And that energy, it's powerful. Now let's go deeper, because this is where attraction becomes psychological. When you're emotionally stable, you create a sense of safety. And when a woman feels safe, she opens up. Not because you asked her to, but because she feels she can. But here's the twist. That same emotional control also creates tension, because she can't easily read you. She doesn't know exactly what you're thinking. And that uncertainty, it pulls her in. Now imagine this. Two men walk into a room. One is loud, trying to impress everyone, constantly seeking attention. The other, calm, observant, relaxed. He speaks less, but when he does, people listen. Who do you think feels more attractive? Exactly, because attention that's chased feels cheap, but attention that's earned feels valuable. Here's something most men won't admit. They're afraid of silence. They feel like they always have to say something, do something, prove something. But silence, when used correctly, is one of the most attractive things you can offer, because it shows comfort, confidence, control. Now, let me give you something practical. Instead of trying to fill every moment with words, slow down. Pause before you respond. Let conversations breathe. Because when you're not rushing, you naturally stand out. And here's another layer. Stop trying to impress her and start experiencing her. Notice how she talks, how she reacts, what excites her. Because when you're present, truly present, she feels it. And presence is rare. Now, this next part, this is where most men lose everything. They start strong, calm, confident, grounded. But the moment they feel attraction, they switch. They become needy. They overtext, overthink, overinvest too quickly. And just like that, the attraction disappears. So here's the key. Consistency, not intensity. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to stay grounded. Now, let's talk about something even deeper: boundaries. A man who respects his own time, his own energy, his own standards becomes naturally attractive. Why? Because it shows he values himself. And when you value yourself, others feel it. But here's the important part. You don't need to announce your value. You don't need to prove it. You just need to live it. Quietly, consistently, and that's what makes it powerful. Because most men are loud about what they want, but weak in how they act. Be the opposite. Now, let me give you a simple shift that changes everything. Instead of thinking, how do I make her like me? Start thinking, do I actually like her? This instantly puts you back in control because now you're not chasing approval, you're evaluating connection. And that shift, it's magnetic because people are drawn to those who don't desperately need them. Now, here's where we go further than most people ever do, because everything we've talked about so far, the emotional control, the silence, the grounded presence, these aren't just techniques. They're symptoms of something deeper. And that something is identity. See, most men approach attraction from the outside in. They try to change their words, their behavior, their image, but they never touch the core. And the core is who you believe yourself to be. Because here's what nobody tells you. Your behavior will always follow your self-image. Always. If deep down you believe you need to prove yourself, you'll always be proving yourself. If deep down you believe you're not quite enough, you'll always be working to compensate. And she'll feel that compensation, even when you hide it well, even when your words are perfect. She'll feel it in the energy underneath. So the real work, the work that makes everything else click into place, is changing what you believe about yourself. Not through affirmations, not through fake confidence, but through action, through doing the things that build genuine self-respect, keeping promises you make to yourself, setting standards and holding them, walking away from things that don't serve you. Because confidence isn't built in a mirror. It's built in moments where you chose yourself. And once you have that, you don't need tactics. You just show up, and your presence speaks for itself. Now let's talk about something that trips up even the most self-aware men, the gap between knowing and doing. You can understand everything we've talked about. You can nod along. You can agree completely. And still, the next time you feel attracted to someone, fall right back into old patterns. Because knowledge doesn't override instinct. Only practice does. So here's how you actually build this in real life. Start small. The next time you're in a conversation and you feel the urge to over-explain yourself, stop. Say it once, simply, and let it stand. The next time you feel the urge to send that follow-up message 2 minutes after the first one, don't. Let the space exist. The next time silence falls in a conversation and you feel that uncomfortable pressure to fill it, breathe. Let it breathe. Because every time you resist those old impulses, you're building a new pattern. And patterns become personality. And personality is what she's actually attracted to. Now here's something that will reframe how you think about every interaction you've ever had. Rejection isn't about you. Let me say that again. Rejection isn't about you. It's about fit. It's about timing. It's about where she is emotionally, what she's been through, what she's looking for in this particular chapter of her life. And none of that is something you can control. What you can control is who you are when you show up. The man who understands this stops taking rejection personally. He doesn't collapse, he doesn't chase, he doesn't convince. He simply accepts that it wasn't the right fit and moves forward with the same energy he walked in with. And that equanimity is one of the rarest and most quietly powerful things a man can carry, because most men need things to go a certain way to feel okay. The grounded man feels okay regardless. And when you feel okay regardless, you stop being desperate for any particular outcome. And when you stop being desperate, you become genuinely attractive, not because you're playing a game, but because you're finally free. Now, let's talk about something practical that ties all of this together: the way you treat your own time. This is one of the most underrated signals of confidence. A man who is always available, who drops everything the moment she reaches out, who clears his schedule for someone who hasn't yet earned that level of access, signals one thing: he has nothing more important going on, and that's not attractive. But a man who has a life, goals he's actively working toward, people he genuinely invests in, things that matter to him beyond her approval, that man's time feels valuable. And when his time feels valuable, her time with him feels valuable. So ask yourself honestly, what are you building right now? What do you care about beyond the attention of a woman? Because if the answer is nothing, that's the real work. Not learning lines, not perfecting your eye contact, but building a life that you're genuinely excited about. Because that excitement, that sense of direction and purpose, is impossible to fake, and it's impossible to ignore. Now, here's the final layer, the one that wraps everything together. Most men approach attraction as something they need to create. But here's the truth: attraction isn't created, it's revealed. When you strip away the nervousness, the need for approval, the performance, the overthinking, what's left is you, the actual you. And the actual you, if you've been doing the work, if you've been building, if you've been choosing yourself consistently, is more than enough. The problem was never that you weren't attractive enough. The problem was that you were hiding your actual self behind effort, behind trying, behind desperation. And the moment you stop trying so hard to be attractive is usually the moment you become it. Because she's not looking for someone who performs perfectly. She's looking for someone who is present, grounded, real. And when you become that, genuinely, not as a strategy, not as a technique, but as who you actually are, the right people feel it. They're drawn to it without you having to do anything except be it. Now, here's the truth that ties everything together. Natural attraction isn't about tricks. It's about alignment, your energy, your behavior, your mindset, all working together. And when that happens, you don't have to force anything. You don't have to chase. You don't have to convince. Because attraction happens naturally. Before I end this, I want you to remember one thing. The goal isn't to become someone else. The goal is to remove everything that's not truly you. The neediness, the overthinking, the pressure. And what's left is confidence. Real confidence. Not the kind you perform, the kind you've earned. Through the work, through the choices, through showing up for yourself, even when it was uncomfortable. That's the man she's looking for. That's the man you're becoming. If this shifted your perspective, if something landed differently today, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and go watch the next one, because we're only getting deeper from here. The men who understand this stuff don't just become more attractive, they become more themselves, and that changes everything, not just with women, with every area of life. That's what we're building here, one truth at a time.